Elite gravel racers are increasingly shunning dedicated gravel tyres in favour of wider rubber designed for mountain bikes. Proponents of this trend claim that many mountain bike tyres, and specifically lightweight options designed for cross-country racing, are faster than gravel bike tyres, despite the fact that they are heavier and potentially less aerodynamic. This has been a key trend at many of this year's most important gravel races, such as the Traka and Unbound. So let's take a look at what has been driving this trend and what it means for everyday gravel riders like you and I, and whether XC mountain bike tyres really are the future of gravel. Just as roadies have been endlessly debating whether wider tyres are faster in recent years, gravel racers are in the middle of an almost identical argument. Now in the red corner we have personalities such as Dylan Johnson, a pro bike racer, coach and influential YouTuber. A long-time advocate of wider tyres for gravel racing, Johnson set out his argument in favour of Continental's 2.2-inch Race King tyres on his channel earlier this year. Comparing them to Pirelli's Shinturato Gravel H tyre in 35, 45 and 50mm whips, Johnson tested the rolling resistance and aerodynamic drag of each setup at the Silverstone Sports Engineering Hub before combining the two datasets to draw his conclusions. And while the mountain bike tyres were at a clear disadvantage on paved surfaces, the data gathered on a simulated cobbled surface, which Johnson argues is far more representative of a tyre's performance off-road, it showed a significant advantage to the Conti Race Kings. Of course, Johnson wasn't comparing apples to apples in his test. The Pirelli tyres and the Conti tyres do not share an identical construction, compound or tread, and there is therefore more to play than tyre width alone here. However, Johnson contends that this is actually the crux of the issue. Though there are faster gravel tyres than the Pirelli Shinturato H, Johnson argues that XC mountain bike tyres can be even more efficient than even the fastest gravel bike tyres because their increased volume means that they can be made with thinner casing and treads without increasing the risk of punctures. In turn, this enables them to be more flexible and to conform to imperfections in the trail surface more easily, thus lowering their rolling resistance. Now, Johnson's wind tunnel testing also showed that, contrary to popular opinion, wider tyres are not always less aerodynamic than narrower ones. According to his data, the 2.2-inch Race Kings were actually more aerodynamic than the narrower 50mm wide Pirellis. Though Johnson concedes that the XC tyres are heavier, he asserts that even when compared to the lightest tyre width he tested, the weight penalty of the XC tyres only has a marginal impact on performance and is vastly outweighed by the benefits, at least in his experience.
Before we go any further, let me tell you about the Ribble Ultra Grit, the British brand's top-level aero gravel race bike. Tested at some of the biggest races in the world, including at Unbound, Dirty River and the Traka, the Ultra Grit already has proven pedigree, winning UCI level and Gravel Earth Series events in 2025. Inspired by the aero designs of Ribble's quickest road bikes, complete with internal cable routing and an integrated cockpit, the Ultra Grit is designed to get you to the finish line as fast as possible. The frame is made using ultra lightweight and stiff Toray M46 carbon fibre, and the flex seat stays smooth out lumps and bumps. Comfort and confidence is assured when running 50mm wide tyres, while there's a neat down tube storage port to pack away your tools, plus provision for a third bottle and a bento box for those long days in the saddle. The Ribble Ultra Grit starts at £2,599 or $4,035 and can be purchased through Ribble shops nationwide and online. Plus, you can customise the spec and colour to your needs using Ribble's online configurator, all while benefiting from a lifetime warranty on the frame and fork. Head to ribblecycles.co.uk or click on the link in the description to find out more.
So why aren't all gravel pros using mountain bike tyres? While squeezing the largest tyres possible into your gravel bike is a red hot trend right now, not all racers are convinced that it's the right thing to do. Now over here in the blue corner we have riders such as Nathan Haas, a former World Tour road racer turned gravel privateer who we had on the channel late last year. You can check out that video via the link in the description below, but according to Haas, the added weight of mountain bike tyres is simply too big a disadvantage to ignore. He says that testing performed by his friend and fellow World Tour racer turned gravel pro Chad Hager showed that mountain bike tyres are a significant disadvantage compared to 40mm gravel tyres on long off-road climbs. Now Haas acknowledges that since Hager's test was all uphill, it does put a spotlight on the weight difference between the two sets of tyres and therefore doesn't offer an overall picture of how each setup would perform over the course of an entire ride. But he nevertheless argues that this testing has merit because climbs are so critical in determining who wins races. As they're where the key attacks are often made, Haas believes that optimising your setup to avoid getting dropped from the lead group in those key moments should be every racer's top priority. For For everyone else, Haas says that the added comfort, grip and potentially puncture protection of larger tyres is likely to help you enjoy your riding more. He's just not convinced that they're faster for elite racers. As so often, the reality is that there's no black and white answer to this one, and there really is no perfect gravel tyre for every rider and situation. Just as there are many kinds of gravel bikes, there are multitudes of gravel tyres, and optimising for one aspect of performance typically means trading off for something else. Now, Johnson, for example, acknowledges that while XC tyres may offer sizable advantages on gravel trails and are therefore the obvious choice for races such as Unbound, where the vast majority of the course is off-road, his testing also showed that they likely don't perform as well as narrow gravel tyres on tarmac. So for races which feature a more even mix of on and off-road riding, Johnson said that a middle ground option, such as a 45mm wide lightweight gravel tyre, might offer the best balance of performance on both surface types. So the takeaway is that it's important, if you care about these things, to optimise your setup for the conditions you'll be facing in any given ride or event, or just be willing to accept compromises in performance for the sake of simplicity. This is something that we've seen Lachlan Morton lean into in recent years. For both last year's race and the muddy 2023 edition of the Unbound 200, Morton used a 2.1-inch Vittoria tyre up front paired with a 44mm wide gravel tyre out back, which maxed out the clearance on his Cannondale Super 6 Evo CX. For this year's Traka 360 gravel race though, Morton opted for 42 and 44mm wide Vittoria Mezcal tyres front and rear, and in my own very uncompetitive experience, I've generally found that I enjoy my gravel riding much more on 45mm tyres than I did with narrower ones. And if I was buying some new gravel tyres tomorrow, then I would definitely be thinking about whether I could squeeze anything wider into my Kinesis. As with the increasing size of road bike tyres in recent years then, we are confident that the adoption of XC tyres for gravel racing isn't simply a flash in the pan. And since I first wrote about this trend way back in May of this year, one notable change in the gravel landscape has been the arrival of ultra-wide gravel tyres that cater directly for this trend. While many of the fastest gravel tyres used to max out at around 40 or 45mm, many are now becoming available in sizes up to 50 or even 55mm, which is only about 2mm narrower than a 2.25-inch XC tyre. This is important as these ultra-wide gravel tyres have tread patterns, casings and compounds optimised for gravel riding rather than cross-country mountain biking, which should mean that they can offer a better balance of characteristics for the kinds of varied terrain gravel rides and races typically cover. And given this, I suspect that we will see fewer riders opting for mountain bike tyres and more riders going for these ultra-wide gravel-specific options. So, are XC mountain bike tyres the future of gravel? Well, maybe not, but I think gravel-specific tyres in similar sizes are. Cyclists have generally always been overly obsessed with weight, but unless you're doing gravel hill climbs, then it probably doesn't make sense for most of us to optimise our setups around that one factor. Likewise, there's no point being marginally more aero if you're losing buckets of watts to higher rolling resistance on rough roads because you don't have enough tyre volume. As with the move to wider tyres on road bikes a few years ago, I suspect that the big thing holding most riders back is simply that the gravel bikes many of us currently have aren't able to fit such chunky tyres. But what do you think? If someone is thinking about using mountain bike tyres, should they really just be riding a mountain bike? Or is the future of gravel really all going to be about rigid drop bar bikes with huge chunky tyres? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, then you might like this one about Dangerholm's wild prototype gravel rims.